Ladies and gentlemen, friends, seekers of truth, today we're going to explore one of the most profound questions that touches every single human heart. Should love be unconditional? It's a question that sounds simple at first glance. Of course, love should be unconditional, some might say. Love is love. It should have no strings attached. But then, life steps in. Life teaches us that love can hurt. Love can disappoint. Love can betray. And suddenly, that seemingly simple idea, unconditional love, feels more like a challenge, an impossible ideal. So, today, I invite you to journey with me, as we examine what unconditional love truly means, what it asks of us, and whether it is something we should pursue, or something we should question. First, let us define what unconditional love is. Unconditional love is the kind of love that asks for nothing in return. It doesn't set rules. It doesn't expect you to be perfect. It doesn't vanish when mistakes happen or when circumstances change. Think about a parent who loves their child even when the child makes poor choices. Think about a partner who stands by you through sickness and health, joy and despair. Think about a friend who listens, not to judge, but to understand. There is something undeniably beautiful about this form of love. It feels like the truest expression of humanity. To love without conditions is to see another person's soul, to acknowledge their worth, even when the world tries to diminish it. But, and there's always a but, there's a common misconception about unconditional love. Some think it means endless tolerance of hurt, betrayal, and disrespect. That's not love. That's endurance. That's suffering in silence. And no one should mistake suffering for love. Unconditional love, real love, is not blind. It is aware, it is conscious, it is intentional. It does not let toxicity fester. It does not demand your self-worth as a price. True unconditional love empowers, nurtures, and elevates, both the giver and the receiver. Now, let's consider the power of unconditional love. Why is it so revered in literature, in music, in religion, and in our personal stories? Because unconditional love transforms. It transforms hearts. A child who grows up feeling unconditionally loved learns their own worth. A partner who experiences unconditional love learns the courage to be vulnerable. And we, as humans, when we give unconditional love, we discover reservoirs of patience, empathy, and forgiveness that we never knew existed. Think about the times you've loved someone completely, without conditions. Remember the warmth, the freedom, the lightness in your chest. That is what unconditional love gives. Freedom from judgment, freedom from fear, freedom from the constant need to prove ourselves. And here's the most striking truth. Unconditional love is not just an act of giving. It is an act of courage. To love without guarantees is to risk heartbreak. It is to risk disappointment. It is to walk forward with your heart open, knowing it might be bruised. And yet, many of the world's most beautiful human connections are built on this willingness to risk and to give. But here's where life teaches us caution. Should love really be unconditional? Can it truly exist without boundaries? Let's pause and reflect. Imagine someone who continuously hurts you, manipulates you, or shows no respect for your well-being. Can your love for them truly remain pure and unconditional? Or is there a point where self-preservation demands limits? This is where many people stumble. They confuse unconditional love with tolerating abuse. They think, if I love unconditionally, I must stay no matter what. And in doing so, they sacrifice their own peace, their own dignity, their own sense of self. Unconditional love, real love, does not ask you to lose yourself. It does not require you to ignore your needs, your boundaries, your mental health. It does not demand that you become a shadow of yourself for the sake of someone else's comfort. This is why some argue that love cannot, and perhaps should not, be completely unconditional. Because love without boundaries can become a trap. It can become a weapon against your own soul. And here's the key: love that destroys you is not love. It is self-neglect masquerading as virtue. So, what is the solution? The answer lies in balance. True love requires both heart and wisdom. Yes, love should be generous, patient, and forgiving. Yes, love should see the beauty in others, even when they stumble. But love should also be discerning. Love should know when to embrace and when to release. Think of love as a tree. The roots are unconditional, they nourish, they anchor, they hold. But the branches, they have boundaries. They reach out, but they do not allow destruction to weaken the trunk. Love, at its healthiest, is both rooted and protected. Unconditional love asks us to rise above ego, pride, and selfishness. It asks us to forgive, to empathize, to support. But it also asks us to recognize when our love is being taken for granted, when it is being used, or when it becomes a chain rather than a bridge. And here's a liberating truth: setting boundaries is not the opposite of love. It is an expression of love. It is love for yourself and love for the other person. It says, I love you, and I also respect myself. Let me share a story that might help illustrate this. There was once a teacher who loved her students fiercely. She believed in unconditional love, so she never punished, never scolded, never set limits. She thought that love alone would guide them. But over time, her classroom descended into chaos. Students stopped respecting her. The lessons became meaningless. The love she gave so freely, without boundaries, began to breed disrespect rather than growth. Contrast this with a parent who loves unconditionally but sets clear rules and expectations. A child makes a mistake, they are corrected, they are guided, but they are still loved. They know they are valued, even when they fail. That is love that nurtures growth. That is love that empowers, not diminishes. Stories like this teach us that unconditional love is not about limitless tolerance. It is about steadfast commitment, rooted in respect, understanding, and the wisdom to know when to hold close and when to let go. Across cultures, religions, and philosophies, love has been seen as the highest ideal. The Buddha spoke of compassion without conditions. Jesus preached love for neighbor and even enemy. Even modern psychology teaches that humans thrive when they feel secure in love that is both accepting and safe. The wisdom across ages points us toward a middle path. Love deeply, yes, but love wisely. Love with open arms, yes, but do not allow yourself to be consumed by it. Love is not a surrender of self, it is an expansion of self. It is a bridge, not a cage. So, what does this mean for us, in our daily lives? It means we must examine our relationships honestly. It means asking ourselves, am I giving love, or am I sacrificing myself in the name of love? Am I receiving love that nourishes me, or that diminishes me? It means practicing love as an art that blends generosity with discernment, kindness with courage, empathy with self-respect. An art that says, I will love you through your flaws, but I will not lose myself in your mistakes. I will forgive, but I will not allow harm. I will cherish you, but I will also honor my own worth. And friends, here's the beautiful truth: this is not easy. Unconditional love, tempered with wisdom, is perhaps the greatest challenge of all. But it is also the most rewarding. It opens doors to relationships that are authentic, nourishing, and transformative. It frees us from resentment, from fear, and from the illusions of control. So, should love be unconditional? The answer is yes, but with the understanding that unconditional love is not limitless tolerance. It is love that sees, love that forgives, love that empowers, and love that protects. It is love that strengthens both the giver and the receiver. Let us strive, then, to love with courage. To love with heart, and to love with wisdom. To love without fear, but without losing ourselves. To love fiercely, freely, and fully, but also wisely, consciously, and honorably. Because at the end of the day, love is not just about giving. It is about growing. Growing as individuals, growing as partners, growing as a humanity that dares to care, dares to hope, and dares to open its heart to the beauty, and sometimes the pain, of being truly, unapologetically human. So today, I challenge you, love boldly. Love wisely. Love as if the world depends on it, because in many ways, it does. And in the act of loving, in the art of balancing heart and mind, we discover the most powerful truth of all. Love, when approached with courage and clarity, can transform lives, including your own. Thank you.